My guest today is Amy Lacey, founder of the multi-million dollar brand Cali'flour Foods. After being diagnosed with lupus in 2010, Amy realized that she needed to change her eating habits, and she set out to recreate the foods that no longer worked for her, like the pizza nights that she and her family enjoyed together every week. From that journey, Cali'flour Foods was born. Amy is a national best-selling author of The Cali'flour Kitchen and The Clean Switch. Her cauliflower products have won numerous awards. They've been featured by everyone from Dr. Oz to Whoopi's favorite things on The View. They're carried in national chains and retailers like Whole Foods and Walmart. And she's achieved this incredible success. But what I loved most about meeting Amy is her heart for mentoring other women and for sharing the imperfect parts of her own journey to prove that you can absolutely do it too. Welcome to the podcast. Today is a really exciting day, and I had to start recording before we just started gabbing because Amy is someone I've been wanting to connect with on a podcast for a while now, and it's finally happening. You're here.
I'm so excited to be here because it's like the energy is there because I've been wanting to participate and I'm going to in one of your events. And I'm excited to follow you. I love the newest thing that you're doing. Maybe it's not new, but it's new to me. You and your husband. And then you've got the 6-Figure Academy. It's all so exciting. And it all is just so it's like the perfect timing for people. So I think I don't know you that well, but I feel like I know you. And I feel like your heart is there to like pay forward and serve and help others, especially women. So I love that.
That like means the world. And I feel like this friendship, and if now you can know this about me, I'm the type of person when I feel that energy with another human being, even if it's truly an internet friend, right? Like an Instagram connection. And I feel it. I'm like, oh no, we're friends. That's how this works. It's science. Yeah. So this friendship really started by, I would even say like a mutual fangirl situation. I have followed your journey, love your story. We have so many mutual friends, and it was really you interacting with our Powerhouse Women account, and then just with some of the things that we were doing that, you realize what a small world it truly is. There's no one that we can't connect with. The people that you're meant to share this journey with will find their way to you. And I think, it's such a good example. And I know this is something you're passionate about teaching women too, that it never hurts to reach out. Like, what's the worst that could happen? To send a message.
Exactly. And I always say, no is next opportunity. It doesn't mean no. And I've learned that firsthand. And I've had the most incredible experiences that keep coming my way, whether it's with cauliflower or not. But with cauliflower, we've had some incredible adventures. It didn't always start out that way, right?
Yeah.
You got to put the work in. But I mean, we helped the cast of Hamilton, and when Hamilton was just like this magical new experience, and we got to do backstage pizza parties for the cast and got to go to New York, and almost my whole team did. And like we were backstage with John Travolta and Kelly Preston before she passed away. And it's just amazing opportunities, but the product has helped so many people. And then we've had the blessings of people reaching out, but we've also reached out to people just, hey, let's just try. Recently, Jesse Itzler, Sarah Blakely's husband. Sarah is like one of those people that I've heard her speak live. I follow her. It's just, I'm determined to meet her in person. But Jesse actually responded to me. He did this whole thing about one of the big food companies, and I commented on it. He privately messaged me, and I was like, oh! I was like freaking out because I just think those guys are great. And I think Sarah and Jesse both live like a life that that a lot of people should live and can live. Jesse's a great example of making stuff happen. I think I'm
Yeah.
a great example of taking a mess and making a message out of it. If you would
Yes.
have asked me 5 years ago if I'd be where I am today, I've positioned myself in a place that I am, like, it's like my dream home on the water with a company. I would have said no way. And 10 years ago, I was bedridden, sick, on 5 different medications, depressed. And I mean, that's really where my journey starts, is 10 years
Yeah.
ago. And I was 40 years old. I'm 50 now. So I'm like living my best life later on, which doesn't mean anything. It means anybody can do it at any time. But yeah, I took over your conversation.
No, I'm like, keep going. You're actually doing so great. And these are so many of the pieces of your story that I'm excited to have you share about, because first of all, I can't wait to hear when it happens, when you and Sarah Blakely have that divine connection. So please share that with me. I am holding that vision with you.
You have to be with me.
Okay, that's fine.
Let's make it a threesome.
This will be a package deal. Oh, totally. I am equally inspired by Jesse's story. I heard him on a few podcasts, and such a cool dude. And even just there, going back to what you were sharing about, like bringing Elliot on the podcast, I think it's cool sometimes to hear the dynamic between like entrepreneurial couples, or where one person is an entrepreneur. We'll set that aside because that's like a whole different rabbit hole. But this, so one of the things I love most about your story, there's so many pieces, but you really set us up to kind of take people back to before you had this life that you say, it does feel like a dream life now. And there are so many people in this season right now who are feeling like down and out, discouraged, that rock bottom moment that I know you are really familiar with. So take us back there to before Cali'flour was a thing, before you had this life that you have now, because I think a lot of people can relate in this season to how you probably felt back then.
Absolutely. So literally, I'm a mom of 3 kids, and they were little. My husband had his thriving business going. I was a stay-at-home mom. I had a little side internet business for fun when the kids were like napping, but my whole priority was my kids. And one day, almost like overnight, literally, I couldn't take care of them. So I became really debilitated. I had a blood clot, which landed me in the hospital. They went looking for a clotting disorder. Lo and behold, they diagnosed me with connective tissue disorder, which later became lupus and Sjogren's. And so that's an autoimmune condition that attacks your body, and Sjogren's attacks your eyes. So it causes sleep deprivation, which causes people to go crazy. So I literally did feel crazy. I was on lots of high dose of steroids. I was on Coumadin, which, don't quote me, is a rat poison. I was on Plaquenil, which is the drug that everybody's talking about in COVID times. They're talking about the CPAP with Plaquenil. And then they put me on an antidepressant. So I'm on all these medications. I can't take care of my family anymore. It's about 9 months that I go through this, and I'm pretty much in bed for 9 months. I gain a lot of weight. It was a rock bottom moment when my 2-year-old at the time, he was 2, had to go live with my in-laws for a couple months. And then I knew, I needed to really make some serious changes and get my life back. So one of the things I did prior to being sick is I had this family fun night, which was Friday nights, games, and pizza. And my kids love pizza. Most kids do. And so Saturday morning, I used to notice that I would have rashes or I'd be swollen, but I never paid too much attention to it until I was really sick. And so I wanted to bring that normalcy back. So I went looking on the internet for a grain-free, gluten-free pizza crust, because now I've done this elimination diet, and I know that food can replace my medicine. And I know if I go gluten-free, grain-free, at the time, dairy-free, no alcohol, no white or refined sugar, sounds very depressing. The side effects of the medications were worse. So I'm like, okay, I'll use food as medicine. I had met with Rob Wolf, who wrote the Paleo Solution. So he was kind of my guide. And I'll talk about that later because I think we all need mentors. Which I think you're an amazing mentor. So we'll talk about that in a minute. But basically, I changed the way I ate and I used food as medicine. And I brought back family fun night with the cauliflower pizza crust. My kids loved it. I was able to eat it. I was starting to get strong and healthy, so much so that I was taking off all the medications. And this is a couple years. This is taking a couple years. And I will tell you too, I never used to eat cauliflower because it was white, not green. And I believe all vegetables should be green. And it was super smelly, which is funny. There's a new video out from the Christmas Jammy people.
Oh, I love them. Yes, the Holderness family.
Yes, he's Bon Jovi, and it's all about cauliflower rice. It is hilarious. Somebody said to me, it's so funny. You have to watch it.
I have to find it.
Oh yeah, it's hilarious. But all the things he jokes about with cauliflower, that's what I thought. So I'm like, this is not a vegetable I have in my house. But it worked perfect for a pizza. It took on whatever flavors. And even my oldest, who doesn't eat vegetables, loved it. So I knew I was onto something. But during this time, I also was feeling really strong and great. And I just wanted to pay it forward. I wanted to do something. I wanted to change other people's lives. So I went to Martha Beck life coaching school, and I did a health coaching program also at the Mayo Clinic, and I decided to pay it forward. So I became a life and health coach. Well, during that time, we decided to throw these healthy happy hours, and that's when I started serving the pizza. And one of my clients said, take it to farmers market. So I did that. And then we took it online, and our story, we used, have you heard of Donald Miller's Story Brand?
Yes. So I heard you talk about that. This is when I knew that we were going to be kindred spirits because I make everyone read that book. I've followed it. Really, that's a big part of our story too. Yes.
Okay, great. So for your listeners, Story Brand, and there's so many people that use the same. I mean, I follow Donald Miller. I've worked with him personally. But Pete Vargas does a version of Story Brand as well. But basically, it is telling your customer story, making them the hero, and not your product and not your service, and certainly not you. So what I did was I started using some of my clients' stories and promoting the pizza crust through those stories. And really just organically, not even realizing what I was doing at the time. I didn't have an Instagram account. I wasn't doing anything major on social media, but we decided to share one particular story on Facebook, and it went viral. Kind of like the Holderson's family's Christmas jammies went viral, right? So it went viral. And in January of 2017, we sold more of our pizza crust. We just had 2 SKUs than we had the entire year of 2016. And then in 2018, we were selling it every 3 seconds online.
Wow.
And it became your business almost overnight. So I went from sick to really feeling defeated, mom of 3 kids, to a CEO running an 8-figure business. It really happened very fast, and I learned a lot really quickly. And the one thing I was just talking to somebody else about this. They said, is there ever a time where you lost sight of something and it kind of hurt your business? And I said, a lot of times, but I think the biggest time is when in 2018, I had launched my cookbook, which was a national bestseller. I was launching new products. It was like, let's go, go, go. We're selling a pizza crust every 3 seconds. Let's expand the category. Let's just go, go, go. And I stopped focusing on the number one thing I should have been, which was my customers and my consumers, and making them the top priority like I had done in the past, which is what built our business. And I could see that what I had done had caused some damage. And really what I would say to anybody that has a coaching practice or a product-based business, make your customer and your consumer the hero. Pour into them like you would pour into your children. Go above and beyond. Serve, serve, serve. And it will come back to you tenfold. But make it very authentic. It cannot be about the money. As soon as it becomes about the money, things just, they're not the same. You don't have that same kind of growth. So that was what I learned. But so that's how it started. And it's funny. I did, I finally learned the concept of pouring into yourself beyond just like doing a yoga class, or, you know, I learned how to meditate. I learned how to create really good habits, but I also learned that it's really important to do masterminds, hire a mentor, join somebody's program. And I say this not because you have amazing ones to offer, and I think anybody listening should join yours, but I started doing that for myself, and I started going into women's retreats, and I started going to masterminds. And what that did was it peeled layers of childhood yucky stuff that I hadn't dealt with. I've been to counseling many years. My childhood story would take a whole nother hour on this podcast, so we won't go there. But I think I had been in counseling for many years as a teenager and a young adult, and I never got the clarity or the growth that I had from a mastermind and from spending time at a retreat and working on myself and pouring into myself. And I did a mastermind in 2014. So 4 years after I was sick. And recently I moved to Florida from California, and I found my old book, which I actually have it in front of me.
Oh, I keep all that stuff too.
Yeah. And
I love that.
I went back and looked at it, and the girl that was leading the mastermind, and it was a retreat, she said, I want you to write where you see yourself in 5 years. Like, what are the top 5 things you want to see in 5 years? And I wrote them, and I forgot about them. But when I moved last year, and we bought our dream house on the water in Florida, moved from California, which is a whole nother story because of the fires. But I looked back at this book, and I'm like, what were the things? Like, let me see what I wrote back here then. Because I was such a newbie to learning and growing. And I had written 5 things. 1, I wanted to do a product or a service that changed people's lives, because I was starting to do the coaching. I wanted to write a book that was a bestseller. I wanted to grow or learn about God, because I grew up with no religion. And then my mom was a single mom, and then she married an atheist. So I had no religion base until I met my husband, and he was Catholic, but I really wanted to learn about the Bible.
Yeah.
And then I wanted to lose weight. That's like on everyone's list.
Right.
And then the 5th one was I wanted to live on the water someday. And I looked at the list, and I'm like, I created Cali'flour Foods. I created the Cali'flour Kitchen, which was a national bestseller. I joined a Bible study, and I gave myself to Jesus. So I'm very faith-based now. I attend church regularly, lead Bible studies. I had moved to our dream house on the water, which I had some guilt about doing that, but I felt like I've worked really hard, and I've been able to give a lot. I've given more than what I've spent on our family. I've given away more. And so for me, I can justify that this is our dream, and we've worked really hard, and we're making our dreams come true. And then that 5th one, well, I'm still working on it. I'm not perfect. I'm not where I want to be at all. And days like today, I'm inflamed, but I go with it. I don't let it stop me living my life. But when I look back on that, I'm like, wow, I wrote that I wanted that in 2014, and that's all happened. I believe in the power of writing things down. I believe in the power of hiring mentors and pouring into yourself. I believe in just doing it to get over fear, because fear will, as we all know, debilitate ourselves, paralyze ourselves. I believe in creating healthy habits that I never had 10 years ago. I didn't wake up with a plan, right? It was just, let's get the kids off to school and let's play with the youngest, and then nap time. I never had an intentional plan. And so I think to listeners, I would encourage them, develop great habits, create a plan, write it down. So I'm going on and on.
Isn't that so cool? Like there've been so many stories from, this is a perfect example where when you write those things down, you don't even realize the seeds that you're planting.
Yes.
But what I love that you shared there is that piece. And this is really what had me know that I needed to find a way to connect with you on the podcast because you're such an example of what we really stand for, that it's awesome. And we always want to share the things that led us to the success that we have. Of course, we want to share that, but we also want to share the real side of the story, that no one is perfect. We all deal with our stuff. So
Mhm.
what have been some of those roadblocks for you mentally as you've been scaling this business? What were some of the fears or the imposter syndrome or not enoughness? What has your version looked like?
Yeah, and that could take forever to explain because there's more of those. And I want to encourage people that are listening today. I still go through it all
Yeah.
the time. There's more of that and more of that voice telling me no instead of next opportunity, and more fear that lives in here than not.
Yeah.
But there have been so many times through the business, I have made some serious mistakes. I've made some really expensive mistakes. But the one thing I learned about making mistakes is being very authentic. I wrote a letter at the end of 2017. I had screwed up our packaging and it was going to cost us a lot of money. And I wrote a letter to our community thanking them for the grace, for pointing out the mistakes, and that we would make it right. And we
Mm.
did. And I think just being truly authentic with yourself and your community, but getting over the hurdles, because that's where we started. Like a lot of people are struggling right now, and we have our struggles right now too. Truth
Mhm.
be told, I mean, there are things that aren't going exactly right, and it's because of COVID. I continue to just persevere, and I talk a lot about the 5 P's in my business, and one of them is perseverance. So there's a lot of highs and a lot of lows in an entrepreneurial world, in a world in general, in parenting, in everything. There's a lot of highs and a lot of lows. There, it's rarely where we're in the middle, right? And I don't mean like
Yeah.
flat line. I mean like rarely where you're just going along and everything seems to be going, it's not great, it's not great. It's always for business, for entrepreneurs, it seems like it's really high highs and real low lows. And I
Yeah.
think what gets me through is knowing the difference I'm making in the highs. Like I know that I'm changing people's lives with these products. I know if I put myself out there and I do a recipe, and I can, the other day I posted myself at 5 o'clock in the morning. Someone private shared it to me and said, I'm worried about you. You look really inflamed. And I said,
Oh.
yeah, I am at 5 in the morning and I have no makeup on and I'm 50, but you know what? I want to be real. And I
Mm.
just want to show how I am without hair and makeup done. Like, this is who I am. This is what I look like when I wake up and I struggle. And most days, because of the autoimmune, I don't want to wake up and get out of bed. Like it hurts, but I do it anyways. And I find that if I can flip my mindset, and it's one of those habits I've created, I get everybody out the door and then I sit down with my morning routine, which is meditation, and I write down gratitude and I write down my like positive thoughts for the day. And it sounds cheesy, but it works. It like flips my mindset. And
Yeah.
gratitude, I've had to live in a space of gratitude over the last year. I won't go into tremendous details about this, but I brought some people into the business that don't run they're running the business great, but they don't run it the way I run it.
Mm.
I ran it and they're not using the same people that I had there. They let a lot of those people go, and it was a lot of mourning for me, and it was painful. And I had to live in gratitude for them. I had to write out gratitude for them to get rid of the anger, and because anger destroys you. I could see myself getting inflamed again. Like, these people came in, they took over, they're doing things differently. And I just had to look at the things that they're doing that are making the product available for more and more people that I couldn't.
Yeah.
I was limited, and live in a space of gratitude. And then look at the people that they let go and what their lives are like now and how they're flourishing because they were let go. They deserve to be in a better
Mm.
place. So living in gratitude is huge, especially if you have a problem with somebody. There's a lot of people say you can't have gratitude and joy, or you can't have gratitude and feel blessed at the same time. And I agree with that. And then there's people arguing that that's not the case, but I actually agree with that. Like, if you can take somebody that's hurt you or a situation that's hurting you, and maybe it's COVID, and find the gratitude in it, flip it. We see it online a lot. People are like, okay, so you're home, you're not working, but you're with your family. Just trying to flip it. I know it's hard, and it's hard right now for some people to do that, but I promise you, if you make a habit of it, it will eventually be your thought process. It will change. And I had to do that. I had to go back to doing that this year, and it was tough.
Yeah.
I was in a severe mourning loss over some things.
And it's so true. I think those are the pieces behind the story. You've had these amazing accomplishments. Your products are distributed in huge stores. You've been on, the lists of all lists, favorite things. And it's easy to look at that and think that this journey has just been smooth sailing. But there are so many. I always say that really the journey is all personal growth. The business stuff just is like a fallout, but working on myself, working on my own leadership, and hearing like where you've had to let go, especially as a company gets this big. That's one of the things I know I've struggled with. I talk to other women too, is, letting go of that control, really surrendering it to become like, to go on and serve, for our businesses to go on and serve who they're meant to serve. What has helped you do that along the way, as you've had to let go or maybe hire people who now are going to take it further than you could have? Like, how have you been able to do that, or what's supported you?
Yeah, so definitely, like I said, gratitude has been a huge, I can't stress that enough. Like, just writing out a gratitude list for this particular situation or person. But also, I started going back to, so when I was the CEO of Cali'flour, I did leadership courses for the team. So we did Dave Ramsey's Entree Leadership. We went to Summit. That's where we heard Sarah Blakely speak. We did Donald Miller. I poured into the team, and I was part of that team. But I went back this year to pouring into myself again. And I haven't done that for years. And I'm like, okay, I'm in this place where I'm not the CEO anymore. I've moved across country. I don't have friends here. My kids are in high school now. They're doing their own thing, and I love supporting them. But where am I now? Like, I'm the face of the brand, but what else am I? I'm used to going, traveling all the time.
Yeah.
And now I'm home all the time. Like, what do I do? And so I started pouring into myself again. I joined a couple women's groups. I joined a mastermind. I up-leveled. Like, everybody in that mastermind has done amazing things beyond anything I could dream of. I purposely put myself in that position. I was grateful they accepted me, because honestly, I wasn't qualified to be in that group. Financially, I was, but I wasn't qualified for other reasons. And they accepted me in there. And that's a circumstance I want to say, that when you think you can't belong to a certain place or be in a certain group or do a certain thing, think again, just try. What's the worst they can say is no, and you move on to next opportunity. And so they accepted me in, and it's been tremendous growth. And what I've learned, which has been amazing, is that these people that you see, and I won't name names, it's kind of a private group, but they're big business owners, and they've all failed.
Yeah.
We all have something in common, crazy childhoods. So it's like we all were not destined to succeed, but we did. And they've all failed. And not that I've failed, I haven't, but I'm in this state, do I go back to coaching? Do I do business coaching? I want to help people,
Yeah.
especially in this time. I started this business called Brick and Mortar to Click and Order. And so I've been helping brick and mortar businesses that are almost closing or losing their business go online. And we've been doing that. And I actually hired some of my old team members from Cali'flour to help do that. And that's been amazing. Financially, it's not working as well, because these businesses are requiring a lot more than what I'm charging, but it's fulfilling, it's helping. And now I just need to learn, how do I scale that? How do I make that even a bigger business where I can help even more people? So I think you find things I would have never thought I'd be helping, going brick and mortar to click and order. I would never have thought that, but COVID did that. Somebody reached out to me, and they were going to shut their business down, and they wanted to know, they knew I had an online clothing store years ago, and they wanted to know if I could help them sell some of their clothes online. And I'm like, we're not going to close your business down. We're going to open it, but we're going to open it online. And they've had over 300% growth from having a storefront where they had tremendous overhead. So doing that has been really fulfilling. And I think, I guess the answer to your question, which is a long-winded here, is start with growth. Start with, and if you can afford to join a mastermind, there is a tremendous amount of free content online right now. Tremendous. And I started this little Facebook group, and they all were like, oh, we hate social media. It's such a time suck. It's such a waste. We're anti-Instagram. And I'm like, I was too at one point. And the book, my publisher was like, you have to join Instagram and have a personal account. And I'm like, okay. And I learned everything about it. And it's amazing. And there's so much free content, and there's such good content out there that are helping people. And now that whole little group is using Instagram and building community, and it's helping with loneliness. It's helping their business thrive. They're serving one another. There's nothing greater, I think, than helping other people. It's such a cool feeling. So pour into yourself, get out of your way, help somebody else, and you'll see the power of what you're able to do. It'll be amazing. And there's always, it's like, I'm in this other little group with Pete Vargas. Pete Vargas always says, you have something that somebody else needs. You just may not know it. So you think about who your ideal audience is. Start following them on Instagram. Start building relationships. Pretty soon you're going to figure out what you can do to help others. And when you start helping others, it's very, very powerful. It's an antidepressant on steroids. It'll get you off the couch. It'll get you motivated. It's amazing.
Oh, that's so well said. And you've talked a lot about your community, whether it's your Cali'flour customers, the people you pour into now. What role has community played in your journey? I would love to hear.
Community is amazing, and it's very important. So again, I'm going to go back to social media. It is not a time suck when you do it appropriately. And it's a great way to build community. Find the groups that you can find purpose in. Those groups can be very powerful. They can heal loneliness. You can find purpose in those groups. People usually need help in those groups. It can be very intimidating, and it can be scary to be in those groups. And it can be scary to be on a Zoom like this and see yourself and be willing to put yourself out there and to talk. We had a little mastermind that I was asked if I would speak in, and then they broke us out into these private little groups. And I found that my little group was scared to share. And so I talked about a very vulnerable, story, and it kind of opened it up. And you'll be amazed that when you share your story, not only do you feel like you've helped somebody, but you're going to open a door for somebody else to feel comfortable to share their story, because a lot of people have baggage and stories, and it helps to build that community for support. And then if you're trying to launch a business, or you're in the middle of starting a business and you're not sure how to grow, community, right? It's so important. I mean, you have an amazing community. It's helped you grow. It's going to help you continue your growth, and your community is going to get bigger and bigger. And communities can look different. I have, a group on Facebook that's just starting out. And then I have a group of women that are 7-figure owners. And honestly, I get equal amount from both as far as fulfillment and friendship and love. Like, just because the girls that make 7 figures, it doesn't mean that they're more important to me or that they add more value to me. I learned so much from the girls that are just starting out as well. And we have some men. So I'm not just all about girls. Men in there too.
I love it. Equal opportunity.
Yeah, community is really important. And without our Cali'flour community, the community that supported Cali'flour, the diabetics, the autoimmune, the cancer patients that were put on a keto diet, low carb diet for inflammation, all of those people are what literally got me up out of bed moving forward, especially in times where I made a packaging mistake. I hired the wrong person. We didn't have any money to pay our bills. Those times where the stress and the lack of sleep and the travel caused me a lot of inflammation and pain. Those people, that community got me up, got me going.
Yeah.
Very important. Community is extremely important.
Well, that is what we live and breathe as well. So I love hearing that. And, I love how you share as part of your story that you started the business at 46. You shared you're 50 now. I would never believe that, first of all, if you're watching this on video. That's not just a compliment. That's like a very true statement. But what do you say to women who feel like it is too late for them to chase their dreams?
Oh, it's never too late. It's never too late. I think about every 10 years how I've changed. And I think when I was 30, so this time 20 years ago, I was traveling to Dublin, Ireland to run my first marathon. And I was in big pharma, I was in corporate world. And then the next 10 years after that, this time 10 years ago, so not 20 years ago, I was so sick. And matter of fact, I was bedridden at this time 10 years ago. And what a difference. And I remember 10 years ago thinking, wow, 10 years ago, which would be 20 years ago, I was running a marathon and now I can't even walk. And now 10 years later, I go out my door here in my office and I see beautiful water and a beautiful home, and I have a thriving business that changes people's lives. Is it perfect? No. Do I have rough days? Most days are not perfect. They're more rough than good. But it's a great life and so much has changed. So what I would say is nothing stays the same. You can reinvent yourself. Age is just, like they say, a number, really. I have way more energy at 46 to 50 now than I had when I was running that marathon. I mean, way more. And the thing is also, I have a lot more courage. Like, I have gone ahead and broke through fears. I've gone ahead and did it. When I was getting ready to do my very first presentation for Cali'flour, it was Nosh. It was called Nosh in New York. And I was gonna get up and do a presentation on my product. It wasn't really well known to all of these big food people, Kraft, Nestle, all these big food people. I was in the bathroom. I was sick. I was so nervous. I'm like, I don't think I can do it. And I'm like, nope, you're doing it, because it's a bigger failure if you don't. And I got up there. I took a deep breath, no shakes, no nothing. I figured my knees were going to buckle from shaking. Nope. I knew I had something great. I was confident in myself, and I went and I killed it. And every time after that, I go in the bathroom, I say a little prayer, and then I get what does Beyonce say? She gets her like alter ego on.
Oh, yes. Sasha Fierce.
Yes, yeah. Sasha Fierce. There we go. So Todd Herman talks about that as well, your alter ego. I do that. I get up there and I'm like, okay, you own this. This is yours. You got this. Go out and be the example of breaking through your fears, because I've grown up very insecure and never believing in myself, and never really having anybody early on believing in me like I believe in my kids, like I pour into my kids. So I have lived with those kinds of insecurities and that self-talk. And the best way to get through it is to just do it. You'll break through that fear. It sounds silly, but just do it. Write down some things that you really, really want, and then work backwards and start achieving them. Like, you and I are going to be in a room one day with Sarah Blakely. I'm going to make that happen.
I can't wait.
I truly believe that. Like, I've seen myself do it, and I've seen it happen for other people too. So set a goal, make it a high, tough goal, and do it, and break through fears. You will conquer it. And ask, like you said, ask. And build a community. There's a lot of pieces there, but take one thing at a time. And I would start, if you've never invested in yourself, I would start by investing in yourself. And if you have a spouse that doesn't believe in it, do some free work first. Like, find some things online, find some podcasts. We're so fortunate compared to when I started 6 and 7 years ago. There's so much more out there that's free now. And the podcast world is amazing. You can continue to listen to these podcasts. Create some great habits too, and make your daily habit part of building a community and part of pouring into yourself.
I wish I could just bottle all of this up. I mean, all of this is just, it's gold. But it's such a reminder of what we do have within our control. Those are the choices that we do have within our control. And focusing on that is such a powerful place to start. So I could just talk to you all day, and maybe we'll just have to do like a part 2, a part 3, a part 4. And then, of course, everyone will want to be in the room virtually when we, have that meeting with Sarah Blakely. So we'll bring the podcast along there. But what are you most excited about right now? I know you have your book, obviously the product, you have some of these new projects you're working on. What's the biggest way that we can support you?
Well, I do have a personal website now, which is heyamylacey.com, and I have a free consultation, and I love helping people grow their businesses. So if I had a mentor early on, like 2016, I think my business would be in a much different place. It's very successful, but I think it might be like way, way more successful than it is. But I didn't have a mentor till later on. I didn't have one in the beginning. So I do have a free consultation. I'd love to talk to you. That little group I was talking about with those people just starting out that were intimidated until I told a story. They actually said, we're not where you are, so I don't really want to share what I have because I'm kind of embarrassed. And I love helping those people the most because I can relate to those people the most. So if you want to start something, you need to pivot. By the way, I'm trying to not use that word anymore. It's so overused.
Oh, so for 2020, we decided our word is reimagine. We're over pivot as well. Yeah. You can steal that.
Okay, reimagine, because pivot's driving me nuts. Reimagine your life and what it could be, because I promise you, like, it's so hard too, because people will listen to a podcast that I'm on. They're like, yeah, okay, you make it seem really easy. Does it really work? Is it really that simple? Mm-hmm. It really was, but it was baby steps continuously, right? It was habits continuously. It wasn't like I tried it one day or for a week or a month and then bam, magic happened. No, I had to be very consistent. And I think that's the key to anything, is also being very consistent. And also that will break fears. Being consistent will break off those fears. So yeah, you can reach out to me. I'd love to do a consultation with you. I'm having the best time helping other businesses flourish. Some really cool projects I'm working on that are exciting, and I see such potential. And it's great too. I was working with one of my clients earlier today, and it's like, I can see her potential, but she couldn't. And she's scheduled for a radio interview at the end of the month, and she's speaking in a summit next month. And she's been in her business for 5 years, and she's never done either one of those. And I saw it early on. I'm like, you're going to be on podcasts, you're going to be on radio, we're going to get you on TV, and you're going to do a summit, because we did a summit earlier this year. I'm like, they're huge. It's going to help you grow your community. And now it's happening to her. But sometimes it just takes somebody else seeing maybe what you can't see, and guiding you on how to get there so you can see it.
Well, I just can feel your heart for mentorship, which is something that I'm really passionate about too. People are probably tired of hearing me say it, so it's great to have someone else say it. And you're just so generous. Your spirit is so generous. I mean, you could just enjoy your beautiful lake house and your cauliflower empire, and just to hear that you are taking your experience to pour it into others says so much about who you are. And it's just an honor to know you and now consider you part of my girl gang.
I know. I'm excited to become more a part of your community. I want to join your Powerhouse Women, because I think that's, just looking at it from your last event, cool group of people, just a great community. So I hope people, dive more into your business and what you guys have to offer, because it's huge. And it's scary sometimes for people to spend that kind of money. But, I've seen it time and time where people will invest in themselves and put like their last little bit, only to grow a business that makes them well beyond anything they could ever have imagined. Yeah. So, and the same with a 9-to-5 job. If you're in a horrible job that you don't like, invest your nights and weekends into mentoring and creating the life that you do love. So I get a lot of enjoyment out of helping others. And the other reason why you should follow me is I've started this new little fun. I wanted to give back to people in a fun way. So we've been doing contests. We had one last week where you had to guess the ingredients. We gave $500 away. At our summit, we gave 3 $5,000 scholarships to people
Wow.
start their new business. Sarah Blakely started hers with 5,000. I started mine with 5,000. So 5,000 kind of has a
Wow.
special number there. And then this week we're doing a cauliflower giveaway. But it includes a gift certificate and some things. And we're going to be giving away all kinds of different things. Things that I'm passionate about are fashion, food, fun.
Amen.
Family. Yeah. So another reason to come on over to the website.
Oh, and on Instagram, it's under Hey Amy Lacey as well. And we'll make sure to link all that in the show notes so people can find you very easily. So my last question, this has been really fun to ask women this year, especially because I talk to a lot of women who feel like, gosh, I'm not where I thought I would be, or this isn't what I expected. I don't think this year is what any of us expected. But this question of pausing to identify moments where we are great, whether it's big or small, we just call it your powerhouse moment. It can be anything at all in the last, year, the last few weeks, even, where when you look back now, you're like, wow, I was a total powerhouse in that moment.
Yeah. So for me, I think it was the courage to move across country. I was living a very comfortable life in the town that I was born and raised in. I had moved away for about 9 years, but I came back 17 years ago. And the courage to not only move myself, but move my parents and move my aunt across country into a new environment. It was scary, but I thought, wow, I did it. I said I was going to do it. I did it quickly. I sold all 3 of our houses on my own without a realtor, and I made it happen. And I feel like a powerhouse from that. I really do.
Wow.
And so it's given me a lot of strength, and it's put me in a really good environment to pay it forward and to start helping other businesses grow and get out of this, reinvent themselves, get out of the situation. So I'm glad I made that decision. And I'm glad we're all thriving here. So great.
I love that. And and isn't that true, that courage to make the decision that we know is right for ourselves, for our family? That's a total powerhouse moment. Amy, this has been so much fun. I think you're my new favorite person that I've met this year.
I think everyone should definitely dive into more of what you have. You're an amazing mentor to women. So thank you for being out there and mentoring all of us.